Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We're excited to have one of our partners from Netronic joining us. Martin will be presenting on visual integrated project planning and resource scheduling with Business Central. And as a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we will post it to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again or share with anyone. And we encourage you to ask questions during our presentation. So please feel free to type them into the questions box on the webinar control panel, and we will get them answered at our Q&A time at the end of our session. So now I'm going to turn it over to Martin to kick off our presentation.
Thank you very much, Angie, for the nice introduction and for actually giving me the opportunity to talk to you and your colleagues, customers, and prospects today. As said, I'm Martin, and I'm the CEO and one of the owners of Netronic Software. We are a German-based software company with a focus on building visual scheduling products. We have three types of product lines, and the currently fastest growing and biggest product line is to build visual scheduling extensions for Business Central and visual scheduling add-ins for Dynamics NAV still. We have been partnering with Inovia a couple of years ago, and this has been a very fruitful and beneficial cooperation for both of us. And so I'm really pleased to be here again in one of the Inovia's webinars and talk today about visual project planning and resource scheduling. My responsibilities in our company is I'm responsible for like strategy, innovation, and go-to-market, and I'm the executive, in quote, sponsor of everything that we do in our go-to-market with and for Business Central partners and customers. So what I will talk about today is a bit of my baby, so to say. When I say we are all about visual scheduling, and by the way, size of our company, so we are a German-based company with right now 25 people. This sounds small, but we are pretty international because our business is a product business. So our team represents 8 nationalities, and we do at least 70% of our revenue with customers outside of Germany. So there is a fairly good split between revenue and customers we have in Europe and in the United States. There's a little bit less business we do in Asia Pacific. So overall, we are, although being in Germany, we are not all Germans, and we are used to serving international clients and partners. When it comes to Business Central, we actually have 4 offerings. 2 products are centered around production scheduling. So there is a simple drag and drop scheduler, which is called the Visual Production Scheduler. And then there is an advanced production scheduling extension with automatic scheduling, finite capacity scheduling, and so on and so forth. And we ran a webinar on this a few weeks ago, also with Inovia. Then we have a product that is called Toolbox. That is a product which is less meant for customers, but more for partners, so that if partners build a vertical application based on Business Central and need a visualization of time and resource-oriented planning data, then they can take our Toolbox, which is our like core technology, and build custom or bespoke schedulers on their own. And then we have a product which is on the focus of today's webinar, which is a product called Visual Job Scheduler. We have the Visual Job Scheduler actually available for Business Central and NAV. You can use it on premises, but it is also available on cloud. So if you run Business Central from the cloud, you can just get it from AppSource, click a button there, and then it installs and then it runs. It integrates with the jobs module and the resource planning module of Business Central. And we see it is really a good fit for either engineering to order companies or for project service businesses who need some visualization of their project and also of their resource schedules. When I say it's available from AppSource, then this means we always build our product or our products in a way that they are always certified by Microsoft, that they're always approved by them, so that they can comply with the requirements that you or we as a software vendor have to get them into AppSource. And we are releasing new versions of all our products once a quarter. So every quarter we bring out a new version, which always comes with new features, which comes with performance improvements. We fix bugs, and also all our products have an API, which again is more relevant for developers and for partners. But if you have specific requirements on job scheduling that we cannot fulfill with the core product, then Innovia has the opportunity to kind of build an extension for you that achieves some custom functionality. So we make the possibility, actually, we started making the possibility over this year to make our extensions extendable by partners, and this opens up some really nice use cases. So when we talk about the visual job scheduler, we should first talk about a little bit, and this I will keep this very short, what scheduling actually is. And the goal of scheduling in the end is we want to achieve an equilibrium, right? So we want to make sure that, and this is the purpose of scheduling, that there is a balance between supply and demand, and that things are, yeah, that the supply of your internal resources, that your capacity neither is overloaded nor underutilized, so that you have like sufficient demand from your projects, in this case, for your internal resources. And the process of scheduling is actually the process of making sure that you get to this equilibrium, or at least close to it, so that you balance out the supply of your internal resources against the demand for this internal resources. And talking about project planning and project scheduling, or talking about Business Central Jobs module, where you manage your projects, and Business Central Resource Planning, where you manage your resources, actually your supply of your internal resources when you work with Business Central is built by what is called the resource groups and resources in Business Central, and the demand for these resources. If you're like an engineering to order company or a professional services company, then it's coming from the job, and there the demand for the resources is specified in what is called in Business Central the job planning lines. So in a nutshell, with the visual job scheduler that we will see, or we will start seeing in a few minutes, we want to help you in a visual way to balance the demand for your resources as it is like described in the job planning lines with your supply of resources, which comes from the Business Central resources and resource group. So the minimum set of data that we require for visual project planning isn't really big. So you can achieve the same visual planning and scheduling that I show you in a minute with just standard Business Central. You don't need to add additional data. You don't need to maintain additional master data. You don't need to maintain a bunch of data. The only, in quotes, set of data that we require is, on the one hand, the resources and resource groups. So we need to know like who is going to do the work, right, in your company, who are your resources, and you need to set up a resource calendar, because with a resource calendar, you could say, okay, I have this guy, Joe, and he works 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for example, and then we know, okay, we have a weekly capacity of Joe of 40 hours. And then the demand for these resources comes from the job planning line. So in Business Central, there is the entity called job planning lines, and on the job planning line, you really have the minimum feasible definition of the demand. So you define there, who is it that you need? Joe, when do you need them? Next week, Monday, how long? 3 days. And in order for you to be able to create job planning lines, you have to have job tasks to which these planning lines belong, and you have to have a job to which these job tasks belong. So in essence, we require that you have jobs in the system, that these jobs have job tasks, so the definition of what is going to be done, and then job planning lines, the definition of who is working on this, when and how long. And that's all. So there is no extra data needed for everything that we will see in a minute. And we have built a visual job scheduler that allows you to do something like this. And the visual job scheduler is the resource and project planning drag and drop front end to the standard jobs and resource modules of Business Central. So we integrate with the standard jobs and resource planning functionalities. So there is no extra table, no extra data. We integrate with them and we provide a drag and drop scheduling front end to the data that I just described verbally. So let's look for the rest of the webinar at a simple use case where, and it's really a simplified use case just to get across some basic principles of the VJS. So when I built the sample database for this webinar, I had a simplified engineering to order company in mind. So maybe an engineering to order company who kind of builds those blends that we see as like sun protection and part of heating systems of large buildings. So typically you have to kind of project these services because they are unique for every building. Then typically once the scope for such a project is laid out, a bit of these, for example, panels can get produced in-house, and then you have a team that goes to the client and installs them. Likewise, for example, with like office building entrance control system, where you have to kind of design and decide about the scope for every building, and this is proprietary, and this is typically make to order or engineering to order for that specific customer. Then you purchase parts, maybe you have some proprietary parts that you produce, and then you go to the client and install this. So the typical sources of revenue of many of our customers is actually the installation of new systems, but then also making sure that these systems continue to work, so these systems get maintained and repaired by my own field technicians over time. And this can be the same guys that implement these solutions, but they can be also different. So let's have a very first look before we go actually into scheduling and visual scheduling. I want to switch to Business Central first and make you familiar with the visual elements of project and resource scheduling, because in our point of view, visual scheduling is actually both. It is the visualization of the schedule, and then it is the process of changing the schedule visually. And I would like to start the webinar and the demo with first making you familiar with some of the visual elements of a project schedule. So I quickly switch gears from PowerPoint to Business Central. And first of all, what we want to do is we want to show and look at what is the demand side of things in Business Central when it comes to my projects for this company. So I want to look at my jobs first. And when I look at my jobs, I see I have a bunch of jobs that follow with these numbers starting with J. So these are my jobs that I actually plan for my customers. And then you see I have other jobs here that I start with master, and I come to them over the course of this webinar as well. So let me take maybe this job for a new customer, for this job 280, where we say, okay, this is a new system built and installed, so I can drill down into the job. And then I see that this is for Elkhorn Airport, and I build a new system and I have to install it. And you see down here with the job task, I specified what I'm going to do to kind of deliver this project to my client. I have to work on a technical specification first, then I need to get the design approved by the customer. I need to do some tooling and fixture design. I have some outsourced production of some of the parts that I need that I have to plan for, and then I go to the customer and do the installation, and the installation is done in various steps. So this could be part of the buildings, or this could be floors of the building, or whatever, and these steps are broken down into phases again, and then in the end, I go back to the customer and I do a side review with them and do an acceptance test that everything works, and I get the final acceptance. So this is the structure of my product. This is the project task, and below those project tasks, I actually have specified what the demand for my resources is. So I drill down and I look at my job planning lines, and the job planning lines define the who and when. So I see for this project, for this task, I need both my resources, Linda and Tom. I need them on that day, and I need them at that quantity. And so now here is the first intersection of my job and my resources, my resource capacity. However, here from Business Central, I don't know and I don't see what Linda is doing on the same day or in that week, and if she's planned to other projects as well. So I would have to go to resource planning and look up for Linda, look at their resource capacity and see how she is scheduled. And this can become quite tedious. So instead of doing this, I can also start the visual job scheduler, which is an extension that I actually installed from AppSource. I want to look only at my projects right now, so I can select actually a filter. I predefined it before the webinar. So now we are loading the content, and now you see what we have is a Business Central page, which other than most of the other Business Central pages is visual. So what we did now, when I started the visual job scheduler, we looked at the project that I just showed you and all the other projects that I have in the system. Plus, we looked at all resources and resource groups and their capacity and compiled their data in a visual view. So the first view that I see here now is what we call the job view, and the job view shows me all my jobs. It is structured by status. So if the jobs are open, planned, coded, or completed, in my demo database here, in my example, I only have open jobs. And you see, actually the screen that I have here is split a little bit in three parts. So I have the left-hand part, which is basically the list of my jobs. I see this graphical part, which I will go deeper in a minute, and you see a time scale which spans period from January to July of this year. And on the time scale, you see this red vertical line. This is actually the work date. So this is a little bit irritating, but in my demo system here, my work date is the 28th of January this year. So I'm a little bit behind of time actually with my demo system, but at some point of time I just froze it to have always like similar data. So in your case, if you run the VJS, this vertical line, this red line is today. So just look at this and that pretend it's the 28th of January this year. So I'm looking actually 2 weeks back and 6 months out. And this is something that I can actually configure in the VJS. I can tell the product which time frame to load. And now you saw already that on the time scale, I can zoom in and zoom out. So I can change it now from this long horizon and just look, for example, at the February. So I just clicked February, it enhances the February. I just click calendar week 6 and I'm seeing which projects I'm working on in calendar week 6. So let me quickly zoom out again and let's look at my project 280. And I cannot fully remember which data I had in Business Central. So what I do is I just quickly double click here and my Business Central card for the project opens again. So we have a very tight integration with Business Central so that you can always kind of jump back and forth between the Business Central data and the job scheduler. And now just imagine you would have two screens, and a lot of project planners, a lot of resource dispatcher have at least two screens on their PC. Then you could move this one to like this card to the right-hand side, have this one on the left-hand side, or vice versa. And then on one screen, you would have the ERP data. On the other screen, you would have this visual representation. But if you remember the job right, we had a zillion of job tasks, like from technical specification, design approval, and so on. And I can see those job tasks if I expand this here. So now I'm seeing the structure of my job, and I'm seeing already the timeline. Okay, I do the technical specification first. I get the design approved. I do some tooling and fixture design. Then I have my outsourced manufacturing. I go to the client and install it. And here, like in week 15, 16, I do the final acceptance. And in the specification, I have to do some design definition, some CAD modeling, some EBOM creation, some engineering analysis, and all of this is something that I can see. And if I want to see like who is the one whom I scheduled to work on the design definition, then I can expand this, and then I can see Linda and Tom. And on those boxes, I see the information on how long I scheduled them. What I don't see here, and this is something that you rightfully might say after we looked at this in business, I also do not see from here what else are Linda and Tom doing on that particular day. However, this view is the job view, and this job view gives us the timing of all our jobs and when they are scheduled to take place. If I want to see like what else is Linda is doing on this 25th of January, then on a right mouse click, for example, I can say, show me this resource allocation in what we call the resource view. And then we flip the views and we see the same information that we had before, but now in the left-hand table, the dominant, let's say, dimension no longer are the jobs, but the dominant dimension are my resource groups and my resources. So you see that in my sample company, I have, let's start with the resource groups. You see the structure. I have project leaders. I have the technical office that works on the CAD drawings and stuff like this. I have outsourced production, and I have my field installation guy, and we can like ignore this one. Then in my like project leaders, I have Linda, Mark, and Mary. I have a couple of resources here in the technical office. I just modeled some job shops here to which I outsource this, and then I see my field service guys or my field installation guys over here, and I see, okay, on that day, I actually have no hassle with Mary because she just works on that project. And also you see now here some dependencies. These are actually some additional information that we bring to the VJS so that we can also see the structure of the project, and just in case that one activity is moved or postponed, that all the dependent activities will get moved out again. And you see what I did when we go back to the job view. When we go back to the job view, we also you see that, or you might have noticed that I try to give every job slightly a different color. So I have like various versions of blue and various versions of, let's say, orange, and the same color, like this orange, for example. If we go back and if I say, if I from here, anyway, if I go back to the resource view, then you see all job planning lines belonging to this orange job are also shown in orange here. So you have the capabilities to also kind of color code your jobs so that you can also in the resource view get a holistic understanding of which activities are meant for this job and when are they taking place. What we could also see, talking about resource utilization, I can actually here on the project lead expand this little triangle, and then I see the outer line is my overall capacity that I have per day. And as I have 3 people here, I have like, and all work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. I have 3 times 8, so 24 hours per day. This is the outer line. You see here somebody is absent, like Linda is on vacation here, so I have less capacity in this week. And then the gray shaded area gives me an indication on how they are utilized. And here in my sample company, like I need some more workload for my team. So this is like just the visualization, and this gives you an idea of what kind of visual elements we bring to your business center with the visual job scheduler. So now let's go quickly back because now we understood the basics of what we see on the screen or on the screens when we work with the visual job scheduler. And now let's actually go from visualizing our jobs and resources to the visual scheduling, so to changing the stuff. And the typical questions that we help you to answer with visual scheduling is, for example, like, okay, I now have a new inquiry, when can we deliver? Or if something is going to get maintained, the customer needs help, when can we provide service to them? So when would be a field technician available that we can send to this customer? And before we go to this use case, I would like us to do like at least mentally a step back, because now we can quickly create the project and kind of fiddle around with some data in the ERP. However, what I recommend everybody to do is, when you do project planning and project scheduling, although like in my engineering to order company, most of the projects are or most of the deliveries to the customers are unique, right? So if you deliver project work, you typically have a lot size of one, and the work that you do is unique. However, despite the fact that the final delivery to your customer is unique, I would bet that you have projects that follow similar structures. So that you have smaller project, that you have larger project, that you have projects with more complexity, project with less complexity, projects that always follow these 5 steps, or other projects that always follow that 8 steps. And if this is the case, and I bet that in most of the cases this is actually reality, then I recommend that before you create a new project in Business Central from scratch, that I recommend you that you build those repeating or similar project structures into project templates. And you can do it with Business Central, and you can do it quick and dirty in Business Central. And then I recommend that you already use the visual job scheduler to time schedule your template. So let's have a look what I mean with this. So before we schedule projects, I actually recommend to build templates, which is a standard Business Central function, and then time schedule the templates with the VJS. So let's go back to Business Central. Let's quickly leave the VJS for a moment. And what I did in the preparation of the webinar, I already created a template. So I created a template that I called the master for the webinar. This should be a master template. And I kept this template super, super simple. So I said, I need a project leader, I need somebody in technical office, I need production, I need installation, and I need, in the end, the project lead again to get the final acceptance. And under each job task, there is just one job planning line. Like I did it that way. I said, okay, I need a project manager for 16 hours. So and I just did it quick and dirty. And you see, I didn't actually mess around with looking at the dates here. This is something that when I set up a project like this with just simple project tasks and a quick definition of who I'm going to use there, then I can already time schedule this with the VJS in a very efficient way. So now I go to the visual job scheduler, I apply a filter that I only see my templates. And here in this now filtered view, I see my master project for the webinar. And if I say expand all, then I see that like the way of how I set it up in Business Central actually makes no sense, because typically the thing is I need a project manager first, then I need the technical office, then it goes to production, then to field installation, then to project lead. So the first thing that I recommend to do is build these dependencies. So with the VJS, we can actually define dependencies. So I can say, okay, I want to start a link, and it says I want to make the job that I do in the technical office dependent of the completion date of the project leader. So I end the link. I say, okay, this is a finished start link, and we can immediately start after the one is finished. So now I have this, I do this again, and I say, okay, with production, we can start when this is finished. and then I do this again, start new link creation and link creation. We can also give the link a duration. So I can say, okay, I can start with this like 5 days after the first one is completed. I do not do this right now, but just want to give you the information that we can do this. So now I made all of these tasks dependent. And now if I say, okay, actually, let me move this by 1 day, then we see we take all these links into account. And now I have the sequence of my project, of my tasks in a good way sorted out. So now actually when I look at this, then I say, okay, this is actually very unrealistic that I would send one field technician there for 3 weeks, but typically customers demand that I get this work done within 1 week. So what I can do actually now also, I can split the job planning, right? I can say, okay, I want to split this into part of 80 and 40. And you see the links get copied as well. And I split the 80s again into 4 portions of 40. And now I have, I put it back on the Monday. I say, okay, now let's schedule the successors. And now you see, I have a really cool structured template for my project where I have all dependencies defined, I have it sequenced, and I have specified the rough demand for the type of work I need to do. And then of course I can save this. And when I save this, this is written back into Business Central. So now when I look again into the project that we looked before, you see there some time scheduling happened, and also for the installation, if I go there and see job planning lines, there was 1 job planning line with 120 hours needed, and now it's 3 job planning lines with each 40. So everything you do in the VJS is written back into Business Central. So now I have built and time scheduled a template. So what's next? So now the next thing is, let's go to the use case and let's, for example, get a new inquiry, customer asking for a new delivery, so maybe a new project. And oftentimes when I talk to customers and then they say, okay, but when I get a new project, what should I do first? Should I time schedule or resource schedule, or how should I do this? And sometimes they say, yeah, but if I do resource schedule it first, then my timing is wrong. If I time schedule it first, then my resourcing doesn't work. And from my experience is there is no, or should be no hand and egg problem, but the recommendation is create a new project with the templates that you have, then time schedule the project. So look at the timing first, then resource schedule it, and then fine tune if needed. And we can have a look at this again. So I will create a new project now based on the template. Then I will time schedule it, and I will show you what I mean with time scheduling. And then I will resource schedule it with the VJS. So back to Business Central. Let's get out of the VJS for a moment because we have a new project, right? So we have a new inquiry from a customer. So we need to create a new project. So let me create a new project. I say new. This project is for, I don't know, for my customer 40,000. This is the Deerfields Graphic Company. And I actually don't want to define all these job tasks and all these job planning lines, but I want to say is, hey, I want to actually copy job tasks from my templates. This is what I have my templates for, right? So I say I want to copy all tasks from my template that I just designed, and I want to copy all tasks. I want to copy the quantities. I want to copy it into the new job. This is all standard Business Central functionality. So Business Central is a damn powerful ERP system, and if you have it, I congratulate you for making the choice for Business Central. If you do not have it, this is really, really a strong system that gives you superb functionality out of the box. And with the VJS, we are just making this strong out of the box functionality a little bit more complete. So this is all standard Business Central. I just copy the project, and now you see I have all this information here. I have this job set up, and we said, okay, we can color code the job, and maybe just in order to see this job on the screen, let's make it green. right? So now I have this new job. I go to the VJS again. I want to see my projects. And here is my new project. I forgot to give it a name, but anyway, you see the green project is here. And then the recommendation is time schedule first and then resource schedule. So first of all, time schedule, I would say, okay, the customer actually is asking or said, okay, can you start in week 7? So I can actually move the entire project to start in week 7. And if I do so, then expand all, let me expand all the underlying job planning lines already got moved. So they have this little gray dot here, which means I moved them here in the visual scheduler, not yet in Business Central. However, if I look at this, I know, okay, this is a really demanding customer. And I think the preparation phase where I need my project manager actually will not be done in 2 days because it is a more complex project. So I say, hey, actually, you know, this will be not 2 days, but this will be 4 days. Okay, so I changed the quantity. And you see, because we had these dependencies defined, this get changed. And then I can say, okay, actually, you know, also my guys in the technical office, they will take, this will be more work. And maybe I not only need a CAD guy, but I also need another engineer. So I would say, okay, actually, this will be, I don't know, this will be 2 weeks of work, but I will have 2 guys working on this. So I split it again in, okay, the one is maybe both 40-40. Anyway, it's just showing the effect. And then I say again, from here, let's schedule the successors to get this closer here to don't have an overlap. Okay, my subcontractor says me, okay, this will actually also, this is more sophisticated work. It will take 8 days. So I put in 64 hours. And now I have time schedule it, I save it, and the timing of the project is saved. And now you already see I got some notifications that I potentially overloaded resources. So now I'm going back to the resource view and see, okay, can I fit in the green project like as I intended it to do? And we see already here with my project managers, looking at this, okay, this can work, but there is some workload with Linda. There is some workload here on that day with Mark. There is some workload with Mary. So maybe we can talk to the colleague who runs this project that we start with this activity a little later, and then I can assign this task for this green project and say, okay, now I know that Mary is available and I can move it from the unassigned project manager to Mary and give Mary the work. Also, then I have to decide who in my technical office will work on this, and I see John is on vacation. So ideally I would start on this Friday, but John is on vacation. But I see with Paul and with Timothy, I actually have some available time. So I rescore schedule it and I assign it from my technical office. And now something, I was too fast. From my technical office, I assign it to, for example, Timothy, and let me do it again, but now slowly I design it to Timothy. And likewise, I design the other one as John is on vacation, Tom is busy with all these other projects. I assign it to Paul, and then I can also kind of talk to my supplier here. Maybe I have an overload here, but maybe these job shop guys tell me, okay, no, we can handle 2 of your inquiries in parallel. So I can also drop it here. So this is possible because when they tell me that they can handle it, they should do. And then I can kind of try to figure out who are the field people working on this. And so with this, I not only can do the time scheduling, but I can also do the resource scheduling. I can really assign a job planning line to a dedicated resource with drag and drop and make sure that I understand my schedule on the one hand, and that I see what is going to happen. I see which type of resources I have, what are they doing, where are they scheduled, what are they supposed to do. Something, and I can actually assign the work. So I did the time scheduling. I defined the structure of the project. I defined dependencies. I see when my resources are like on vacation, or maybe when like Linda, maybe she needs to go to hospital here or whatever, and I know that she will be off sick. So I got this information. So I got a full understanding of my projects, both from the perspective of the timing and from the perspective of my resources, what they are going to do. And I can also look at this view, and this guy seems to be a little bit sticky here, but anyway, so that I can see like which resource is, hang on, something now, which resource is busy in what period of time, what the utilization is. Like that we see, okay, my project manager here, Melinda, is okay, busy here, but I need to find some more workload for here going into March. I see, okay, I have a partial overload in my technical office here on beginning end of February, but there is some idle time with Tom the week after. So I see all of this information on one screen or on 3 screens, with this capacity load overview, with the resource view. And let me try anyway, and with the job view, where I see the timing of my jobs. I also have the capability, actually, there is much more. I can define filters so that I can filter on certain projects or on certain resources. I can search for a specific project. So I can search like for here for a specific project, like let's say I'd search for project 00190. Let me try again. And then you see this is all, then I pressed enter, I see all the job tasks, and then I say, okay, I'm particularly interested in this, what John is doing here. I can select it, and then this is highlighted here. And so I can also quickly navigate through the visual scheduler. You see, you get notification when you overload resources, and likewise you would get notifications if you violate like the expected finish date of the job. And so with this, I showed you what kind of visualization you get from the visual job scheduler. I showed you that you can actually quickly build project templates in Business Central, and then build like meaningful time pre-scheduled templates with the VJS. We created a new project from the template. We time scheduled the project with the template, and I also resource scheduled the project with the template. And this is what I wanted to show you in this webinar. So before I will pass this back to Angie and open up for question, I want to give you like a final recommendation. I'm pretty confident that what you have seen now with the visual scheduler like looks and sounds nice and easy, because it is visual, and typically things that are visual are faster and easier to understand than information that are distributed across multiple tables and multiple menus and multiple like data entry points. However, although this is nice, or this might sound nice and easy, there is a lot of, on the one hand, sophistication, I would say, under the surface. So there are some like powerful features that I didn't show in this introductory webinar, and also both us and Innovia have a lot of experience in enabling customers to make best use of this product, of this tool. So although like in this world of apps in which we live in, although you can just click on App Source and install the VJS, we actually do not recommend that you try to get your arms around the VJS on your own. We have a pre-packaged service that we call Quick Start Package, and with this pre-packaged service, we actually help you in a very, I would say, in a fast and elegant way to get a maximum value, a maximum scheduling value of the VJS in a very short amount of time. And although there is a price point to also this go live service and consultation, I think in the end, this is faster, this is more cost effective, and also more efficient than trying to figure out everything on your own. However, there are a zillion videos, both on Innovia's website and on our website and on their YouTube channel and our YouTube channel, where you can see how the product worked. But if you want to have like the fast path to success, then I recommend also thinking of getting some help with getting used to the VJS, and this is, for example, the Quick Start package. And with this, I would like to pass it back to Angie and see if you have any questions on what you have seen or what you have heard in this webinar.
Thank you, Martin. We do have a few questions that have come through. Let me go ahead and read those for you. The first one is, I just saw resources in your job planning lines. How does this tool deal with job planning lines of the type item?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. And it's also nice coincidence, because as I said in the very beginning, we gradually enhance the VJS with providing a new release every quarter. And we recently released a new version where we actually include the capability to not only schedule resources, but also to schedule items. Let me quickly refresh the screen maybe, so look at it again. Or yeah, let me do it like this. So let me look at the projects again. And you're completely right that everything that you looked at right now, like also if we look at our sample project here, let me go to the sample, to the project that we just created, to the green one. And if we look at all, sorry, now I'm a little bit, if we look at all job planning lines, then they all were of the type resource. So, however, I know, and we can now not look at the green project, but at this last like orange type of project here. If I look at this, then at some point of time, there are also job planning lines of the type item. And they are all here in job task 40. So it says that, okay, there is the job task 40 is the installation phase. And it here basically says that for the installation, we need Alan, and Alan needs that item, and that item. So the very first thing is, and now we can have a look at this task. This job task is scheduled to start at the 30th of March, and this is also when we need all the items. So now the very first thing is, and this is something that I enabled in my settings. Let me quickly look at task 40, scheduled to start on the 30th of April with Alan Jacobson. And if this job task here, like now, is, for example, delayed so that it starts on the 5th of April instead of the 30th of March. And if I'm going to save this, then what we will see if we, let us quickly wait and we get to the notification that the save is done. Now it's saved. Now let's go to the project again, look at the job planning lines, and you see this now got moved to the 5th of April. So all the item lines were moved because I changed the task to which they belong. Now you also might see that actually on this job task 40, we not only have Alan, but we have the 3 items. So in my case, I said, okay, I do not care for Ethernet cable and printing paper. This is just like, these are commodity items and I don't want to see them on the schedule. But this Contoso conference system, this is kind of critical. This is an item I need to have an eye on, and potentially this is also an item that I have to time schedule. So actually, if I go to the items card, and say view, then you see that on the item header, there's a new field, and this field comes with installing the VJS. This is show in VJS, and here this is set to yes. So by default, it is set to no. So by default, items are not shown in the VJS, but they are moved as job planning line type items, as I showed you. But if you set this flag to yes, then as you can see, on the schedule, we not only we here in the job view, under the job task, we see the job planning line for the resource, and we see the job planning line also for the item. And this is now also something that I can schedule separately. So I can say, okay, actually, I expect this item to arrive earlier. I need to have it earlier, or whatever, because somebody has to whatever test it. So there is definitively the capability to also take job planning lines of the type item into account in the visual schedule. So I hope that this answered the question.
Okay, thank you, Martin. And just a couple more. How much effort is needed to implement and go live with this software?
Again, a good question. So I already mentioned the what we call the quick start package in the presentation. So the implementation is, I would say, if it is almost effortless. And the reason for this is, as I said earlier, the VJS is available for on-prem installations and for app source installations. And if you have an app that is on app source, you must provide the capability that it can get installed with just going to app source, selecting the app and say install. And then it gets installed, and we provide almost the same level of installation, I would say, ease and comfort if this is an on-prem installation. So the installation itself is effortless. Then, as I said earlier, we 100% rely on the data that you have in Standard Business Central. So you need to have your jobs defined with the job task and the job planning line. You need to have resources defined and the resource groups and resource capacity. But if this is there is no more master data needed. So if you use jobs and resources, then you can use it right away. If you don't, then you would need to create your jobs first, and more importantly, you would need to create the resource groups, the resources, and the resource capacity. So if you don't have your resources and resource capacity set up, which some customers that I met don't have, then this will take you a bit to set them up, and then the product is installed very easily. And once you have the projects and resource groups, resources and resource capacity set up, then I would say with the quick start package, it takes us typically between 3 and 5 sessions of, on average, 1.5 hours to take you live on the VJS, to make you familiar with the VJS core functionalities, and also to agree with you on some procedures and processes how to best use the VJS. So it is, I would say, an average installation, working on your data, learning, establishing best practices is 1 day, maximum 2.
Okay, thank you. And I am still on Dynamics Nav and use the Windows client. So is the VJS available for me as well?
Yes. Yeah. So the product that I showed you is the VJS extension. This is available for Business Central. So for all Business Central versions, by the way, starting from Business Central 14 all the way 14, 15, 16, 17 up to the most recent version, Business Central 19. However, we also have like the corresponding product that we used to have for Dynamics Nav. It runs in the Windows client, in the role-tailored client, and it's available from Dynamics Nav 2013 to Dynamics Nav 2018. So to all role-tailored client versions, with the exception of 29 R2. But if you are in one of the mentioned Nav versions from 2013 to 2018, then you can use it. We also we continue to maintain and support the add-in. It is not an extension, but it was an add-in for Nav. And from time to time, we also bring out a new VJS for Nav with new functionality. So the development, like our development focus is on enhancing the Business Central extension, of course, because this is the future, but we still support and maintain the VJS for Nav starting from version 2013, and from time to time we also provide enhanced version with enhanced functionality.
All right.
Is this clear?
Yes, thank you very much. If anybody else has any additional questions, please go ahead and contact your account manager here at Innovia Consulting, and we would be more than happy to get those questions addressed. And if we need to reach out to Martin at Nettronic, we'll go ahead and do so for more in-depth conversation. So I just want to thank everyone for attending today. Thank you, Martin, for the presentation.
Thank you. That was really a pleasure to be here with you. And as Angie said, if you have a question, reach out to your Innovia account manager or get in contact with us directly. However, if you come to us directly, then we will include your Innovia account manager as well. So in the end, this will be a collaborative effort between Innovia, you, and us.
All right, great. Well, thank you again for everyone for attending. And if you're watching on demand, thank you for taking the time out to join us. And I just want to let you know, next Wednesday, we do have another webinar coming up with one of our partners, Expand IT. They're going to be presenting on simplifying field operations with a field service management software. So check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's innovia.com/events. And also visit our training workshop page at innovia.com/workshops. We have a lot of different training workshops for you and your team members to attend. So register for the training workshop that fits your role. And don't forget about our Innovia Conversation podcast. We have a library of podcasts for you to listen to, and you can find out more about those podcast selections, and you can subscribe at innovia.com/podcast. And check out our conference page as well. We have different conferences that we will be attending or hosting, and that's innovia.com/conferences. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Martin, for the presentation, and we look forward to seeing you soon at another Innovia webinar. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.